Hey guys, welcome to Juicy Tea, where I read out the best stories on Reddit, so you don't have to. The funny, the shocking, the satisfyingly juicy. Merry Christmas, everyone! Today we're looking back at your favourite Entire Peel stories from this year. My crazy aunt tries to steal my MacBook, and when she can't, she breaks it. Posted by Krusty Krabs. My auntie and her 3 children came from Texas to visit us for the weekend. I, a 17-year-old girl, wasn't happy because her 19-year-old son would always pick on me when I was younger. It was the first time in 10 years that she visited. She came into our house with her 19-year-old bully of a son, her 12-year-old son, and her 8-year-old daughter. I put on my best fake smile and said hi. I told the 2 youngest that they could go upstairs and play on my Xbox until supper. Then I sat down beside my twin brother and my mum. I do a lot of video editing, and Photoshop and Final Cut Pro X is my software of choice. Because of this, I got a 15-inch MacBook Pro a few months ago, as my 2013 iMac just wasn't cutting it. As everyone was talking, Entitled Aunt went upstairs to see the house. I followed her, intending to offer to show her around the house. But when she got up there, she saw my MacBook and asked, "Whose is that?" And this is how the conversation went down. Entitled Aunt, OP, whose laptop is that? Me, oh, that's my laptop. Entitled Aunt, can I hold it? Me, sure? Entitled Aunt holds it. Entitled Aunt, wow, OP, this feels nice. Can I keep it? Me, absolutely not. Entitled Aunt, I'll pay you. This was probably like, $500? Me, it's a $5,000 laptop. I worked my butt off for this thing. No, I'm not gonna just give it to you. Entitled Aunt, OP, I deserve it. I haven't seen you guys in 10 years and you don't even get me a gift? Me, is that my fault? I don't think so. Entitled Aunt, well, since you won't give it to me, you shouldn't be able to use it either. And this bitch opened the laptop, threw it to the ground, and then stomped on it with her high heels. If we had carpeted floors, the laptop probably would have been fine, but we don't. And once she stepped on it, I knew it was done. I called my mum and dad, and they came running up. My mum asked Entitled Aunt why she did it, and she literally mumbled, "Because she wouldn't give it to me." What, is she like 2? This woman needs to get her head checked. She and all her children are now banned from our house. I'm turning 18 in less than a week, so I'll wait until I'm officially an adult, and then I'm going to file a police report and sue her. Wish me luck. Update. I've filed a police report, and we're going to court. Let's do this. Update 2. I won the case. I showed the pictures and everything to the judge, and my mum and dad heard the screaming. When they came up, they saw her stepping on the laptop and took pictures. She owes me a lot of money, so I'm happy. I love a satisfying ending, but seriously, this woman has kids? Who let her out of the psych ward? Alright, well, at least it can't get any worse. Entitled mother lets her kids steal my blind cane. I spoke too soon. So, a bit of backstory. I'm a 28-year-old woman who just recently went fully blind. When I was a teenager, I volunteered with my local youth group to help rebuild Mississippi after Hurricane Katrina. And while down there, I picked up a fungal parasite called histotopoplasmosis that, over a decade, migrated to my eyes and slowly caused blindness. Okay, new fear unlocked! I've been totally blind for about a year now, so I'm still pretty new to it, but I digress. When I first went blind, I barely left the house and was afraid to go out in public. I felt like everyone was staring at me, and in all honesty, I barely knew what I was doing. The transition was difficult, and I didn't have any support group to teach me. One day, my husband asked if I could take an Uber down to the bank to deposit our rent check. I reluctantly agreed. While out, he messaged again and reminded me that we were out of a few crucial groceries. There was a Walmart literally across the street from the bank, so I figured everything in life is an experience, and I'll have to learn how to shop alone eventually, so why not? Gotta say, I'm not a fan of this husband so far. Everything was fine at first, and I was only grabbing a few things, so I didn't need a cart. I was using my cane and what little echolocation skills I had at the time to get around, but I was still bumping into things, as us blind people tend to do. My cane suddenly hit something a bit softer. I figured I must have whacked someone's leg, so I apologised. Cue entitled kid and entitled mother. Me: I'm sorry. Entitled mother: hey, you just hit my son. Me: I'm so sorry, ma'am. I didn't see him there. Entitled mother begins yelling: how could you not see him? He's clearly right there. And she's clearly got a blind cane. That's how she didn't see him. Oh my god. What does she think you're waving that stick around for? Funsies? Now, I'm fully blind, but I don't wear sunglasses. Mostly because I can't afford a good UV blocking pair. But also because I'm not looking for pity or to play the part of a generic blind person. I just want to be treated like a normal person. But I do understand her confusion, as blindness is a spectrum, so I try to calmly explain. Me: ma'am, I'm blind. I can't see anything, let alone your son. That's why I have to use the cane, so I can get around without... She cuts me off. If you're blind, why aren't you wearing big sunglasses? Yeah, and where's your dog? Blind people always have dogs with them. Now, as a blind person, I get a lot of stupid questions. But I understand a lot of them are just people who don't know any better, so I try to answer as many as I can. Me: those are really expensive, around $200 for a good pair, and I don't really need any inside. Entitled mother: you're not blind, you're just faking it. For what reason? Here is where my blood began to boil. I can't think of any reason why someone would want to pretend to be blind. It's actual hell. And nothing pisses me off more than someone who calls me a liar when I'm not. Just as I was about to respond, I felt a tug, and before I could even blink, I realised that this little demon spawn had snatched my $100 cane from my hands. For those of you who don't understand, it's like if you're shopping and suddenly the power goes out and you can't see a single light. Without my cane, I can barely move at all without crashing into anything. My voice became shaky as I began to panic. Please give that back, I really do need it. Entitled mother: no you don't, you liar. My son deserves to play with this more than you. I heard her shuffle away and my expensive cane cracking into metal displays as they left. I started crying and waving my arms around in front of me, trying to grab onto something, anything, and ended up crashing and falling into a center aisle display, making a loud scene. I somewhat curled into a ball and cried. I'm alone in public, in the dark, and I had no idea what to do. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder and a man's voice. We'll call him AG for Awesome Guy. He asked if I was okay and to stay right here. I did, but sat up and listened. This man must have been tall and built like a tank because his footsteps sounded like a giant and I felt a suction of wind as he took off. Maybe about 30 or 40 feet away, I heard this loud bellowing, like an angry lion, and a loud crash. Then, before I knew it, the man was back and helping me to my feet. He took my hand and put my cane into my palm, and helped me pick up the items I dropped when I fell into the display. Me, wiping tears away from my cheeks. Thank you so much, I didn't know how to handle that. AG, don't worry about it, some people are just monsters. This guy restored my faith in humanity, and even helped me finish my shopping and helped me out of the store. As we were leaving, I heard the familiar screeching of entitled mother, something about AG grabbing the cane and pulling hard, flinging her little demon child into a shopping cart. I don't know if she was exaggerating or not, but it would explain the crash I heard. It's easy to feel alone in a world without sight, but even through the sheer terror of being stripped of my cane, at least I now know there are some people willing to stand up for me if I need it. What on earth? What kind of person steals a blind person's cane? I'm glad this ended up being so wholesome. Just remember, in a world full of Karens, there are still some awesome people out there, like AG. My mother-in-law landscaped our entire garden while dog sitting for a week. What do I do? Post by Tragic Mushroom. My husband, 35 male, and I, 29 female, went on holiday for a week and just got back tonight. My in-laws stayed at our house and looked after our dog for us while we were away. We got back tonight to find that mother-in-law has completely changed our garden without our consent while we're gone. We had a smallish paved garden with some raised flower beds, a couple of trees, and some nice flowers and bushes. While away, an entire tree has been removed and is now just a stump with some shrubs and flowers planted in its place. My roses, which I enjoyed caring for, have been cut back to the stump with nothing left. The trellis is completely bare. The two other trees have been cut back dramatically. All their flowers and buds are gone, and the huge flowers on one of the bushes have been cut off. The garden feels very exposed and barren. The tree that was cut to a stump flowered beautifully in summer and attracted lots of butterflies. I'm big on biodiversity, so that was sad. And the roses I'm devastated about because my uncle was helping me care for them. Various other jobs have been done, like cutting a small patch of grass that we have at the back and jet washing the paving slabs, which I'm grateful for. It's important to note, nothing like this was discussed before we left. We only asked mother-in-law and father-in-law to care for our dog, nothing more. Mother-in-law mentioned patching some missing sealant from the windows on our shed, but that was it. I really struggle with anxiety and need to be in control, and I've been sobbing about this all evening. I'm devastated. Mother-in-law is asleep, and father-in-law is staying out of it. I'm sleeping downstairs with our dog because I can't stand to be away from her either. It's 3 AM, but I can't sleep. What do I do? Am I right to be upset? I'm certain their intentions were good, but I feel like this is an enormous overstep, and I'm really upset. Update. Thanks to everyone who left comments. It was really helpful to see everyone acknowledging that this was an overstep and suggesting that my husband lead the conversation. And thanks for all the suggestions about tree law. I've learned something new. Mother-in-law has done stuff like this before, but not to this extreme. She gets bored and one thing leads to another, and you can tell that part of her knows she's gone too far, but she tries to justify it anyway. It's well known in the family that mother-in-law can't sit still and has to find jobs to be helpful, but to my knowledge, she hasn't done anything this big before. I don't know, this sounds like intentional damage. How do you just get carried away gardening and then accidentally cut down a tree? I'm just imagining some crazy lady wildly hacking her OP's tree with an axe. Now for the update. In the morning, my husband spoke to mother-in-law alone and laid out how it was very inappropriate for her to make changes to our garden without permission or even notification. He said she offered some explanations as to why she did it, but did acknowledge that it wasn't right to go ahead and cut down the trees without asking. He posed the question many of you suggested about how would she feel if we looked after her home and repainted a room, or chopped down a tree in her garden, or removed a fence. I think that made her realise. He asked her to speak to me directly and apologise, as I told him that I needed an apology, and for her to acknowledge that what she did was wrong. Later, mother-in-law spoke to me privately and said that she was sorry I was so upset by the garden. That is a completely fake apology. I said thank you. Her explanation for the tree is that she was doing some pruning. I didn't ask her to, but whatever. And when she trimmed the branches, she said that they were black inside. They went to a garden centre, got some advice, and were told that this is some kind of bug infestation. Mother-in-law was adamant that she was being bitten by whatever bug it was as well. Yeah, does she have any proof? Bite marks, some pictures of the black wood? She went all the way to a garden centre for advice, but couldn't pause for a second to discuss it with you guys? I don't know, the tree was green and healthy looking to me. Anyway, at no point did they speak to us, despite going to all this trouble. Then they just decided to chop it down since it was infested? She did at least say the words, I know we should have called you or asked, but didn't say the words, I'm sorry for doing that, just, I'm sorry you were so upset. Then I said, and the roses? I love those, and my uncle was helping me keep them going. And she said that the dog had been chewing on them? Bear in mind, these trees are in a raised bed. She'd have had to jump up to get at them. Apparently she yelped and hurt herself on the thorns. So obviously, the logical conclusion isn't just to keep an eye on the puppy, a 4-month-old lab, but to chop down the flowering roses. That was the end of that discussion, but later in the day, she and father-in-law went to a garden centre to try and replace both the tree and the roses, but couldn't find the right kind. They said if we find the plants that we want, they will buy them for us so we can replace them. Nuh-uh, you destroy them, you do the work to replace them. Things are civil again. I'm still hurt, and I hate how my garden looks, especially since the other trees and flowering bushes were cut back so far that all the colour is gone. It feels very exposed, like a showroom garden before any character is added. But I can't make plants regrow, and replanting the tree would mean removing the stump that they left, so I can't be bothered. Yeah, but they're the ones that should be organising this. They're the ones that went all crazy axe murderer on your garden. Personally, I'll never allow mother-in-law and father-in-law to be alone in my house again, and they will not be asked to look after our dog, unless it's at their home. Honestly, I wouldn't trust them to look after the dog either. I do have a generally good relationship with both mother-in-law and father-in-law, and they're generous and kind people. But this lack of respecting boundaries has been an ongoing issue, especially since we got our house, which they did do a huge amount of work on with us, and for which I'm extremely grateful. I do, however, feel like this contributes to how they view the house and garden as a project and not our home, despite the fact that we've lived in the finished house for 2 years now, and might be why they thought it was no big deal to go around messing with our garden. My husband's been on my side throughout all of this and took all of us, me, him and the dog, out for Sunday roast today to cheer us up. He's upset with his parents as well, and has done his best to make me feel better and to validate my feelings. He's the best. Entitled mum yanks my mum's prosthetic arm off after demanding her disabled parking spot. Post by deleted. This story takes place somewhere in the late 90s. Backstory. My mum was in an accident when she was 14 and lost her right arm. She has about a quarter of that arm left that she calls her stub, and to be honest, the loss hasn't done much to derail her. She drives, she has a joystick-esque thing that sticks out of the wheel, and she turns it like she's steering a ship. She calls it her knob, loudly and in public. She also worked a long time until she started having issues with the arm that she does have, and she's generally been the person in the family to host and prepare all events, and do all the labour. Honestly, she's my hero. But you're here for the story, so here goes. Mum and I went to the supermarket during the busy hours on a weekend because we couldn't make our usual after-school weekday trip when things are less crazy. We go around the whole parking lot twice, as does a row of cars behind us, and we finally managed to nab a disabled spot right by the entrance because someone was leaving as we approached. Now, my mum rarely uses the disabled parking, even though she is permitted, because she always says that people who can't walk need it more. But again, she is permitted, and there weren't any other spaces. After we park and get out, we hear a loud honk a few times, followed by, "Excuse me!" as a woman runs up from behind, catching us just before the entrance to the store. This woman literally left her car running in the middle of a busy parking lot, causing a massive pile-up. So Karen, that's her name now, catches our attention with her shouting, and when we turn around, we're greeted with her, "Can I speak to the manager haircut, 90s edition," and about half a dozen kids, ranging from goth tween to a toddler in her arms. Yikes, a whole horde. Karen then goes on to explain how the spot that my mum just parked in is for disabled people, in a very accusatory tone. My mum was wearing a long sleeve coat, so it was an honest mistake, even though it was a little weird the way she just abandoned her car and ran up to us with her entire litter. Still, my mum smiles and proclaims, "Don't worry, I'm allowed to park there," and we turn back around. That answer just wasn't good enough for Karen. Suddenly Karen and her kids are in front of us, and she's given the toddler to one of her children, just so that she can fold her arms and pout. "As you can see," she gestures towards her kids, "I have a lot going on, and I need that spot more than you do. You only have one child." It's a disabled parking spot, not a parent parking spot. Does she actually have the right to park there? Now, I must have been only 6 or 7, but even I knew the difference between disabled parking and those reserved for parents with small children. I said something on the lines of, "You need a disabled badge to park there. It doesn't matter how many kids you have," in 6 or 7-year-old lingo, and this woman took major offense. I mean, them's just be the facts. She goes off on a major rant about how being a mother to all her kids was hard, how she was having an awful day, week, and month, and how it's not fair that my mum, who looks perfectly fine, had tricked the government into getting a badge that lets her park in a spot that Karen should obviously have instead. As she rambles on about this, she looks around, garnering the attention of the other shoppers, and is doing the whole "don't you agree with me" thing that people do when they want to validate themselves, but never gave anyone a chance to respond because she was already on to the next person. Mum grabs my hand and tries to lead me around Karen, ignoring her entirely, but Karen keeps stepping in front of my mum, demanding her spot. She's getting increasingly annoyed / loud. I remember asking my mum several times if I'd done something wrong because my response seemed to have triggered this rant, but she kept reassuring me that it was fine and that I should just ignore her, which annoyed Karen even more. This goes on for about 5 minutes, a very long 5 minutes, before my mum finally snaps and says, "I have one arm!" silencing Karen mid-sentence. I used to wonder why I shouldn't just tell Karen earlier, but as I've grown up, I've come to realise that it wasn't anyone else's business, and I can see why my mum wouldn't want to take off her jacket, which is kind of a chore for her, just to prove something. Yeah, that's kind of what the disabled badge is for. Either you've got one or you don't. Otherwise, it's none of anyone's business. So we begin to walk around Karen again, but barely make it 5 feet before we hear her go, "BS!" What happens next is seared into my brain. Karen storms up to my mum and tries to undress her. What? She is shaking and calling my mum a liar. My mum then goes into full fight mode because physical alterations are obviously way more intense and scary for her. She starts scratching, flailing, and kicking, and as she does this, one of Karen's children attempts to jump in and help their mum, which leads me to jump in and help mine, and suddenly I'm brawling with her kids. This couldn't have lasted more than 30 seconds. It was enough time for people to stop and gather, but not enough for anyone to react or put a stop to it. I can't imagine what it must have looked like. 2 women in their 30s fighting as their children do the same beside them. But it all came to a stop when somehow Karen managed to yank my mum's jacket from her, and off pops her prosthetic arm with it. It crashed to the ground, resulting in a universal gasp. The moment you realise you just attacked a disabled person. All that's left on my mum's arm is a suction pad and a sharp nail-like hook that slots into the prosthetic. It looks like a blade sticking out of her stub. And without missing a beat, my mum raises it to Karen and in a sarcastic tone goes, "Come on then!" I wish I was old enough at the time to realise how hilarious that was. A woman from the crowd stormed into our little fight circle, picked up my mum's arm and handed it to her before going off on Karen, who looked smaller than a 7-year-old me at this point. People started shouting, "Security!" and Karen rallies her spawn and they all run for her car. I still remember her kids yelling for her to not leave them behind because only her oldest could keep up with her running away as the rest trailed behind. My mum was visibly shaken, but wanted to save face for me and the crowd that was suddenly hounding us. She insists she's fine, she doesn't want the police, doesn't want to fuss, and we go about our shop. When we got to the checkout, about 20-30 minutes later, a few of the people that witnessed the whole thing insisted on paying for my mum's shop, which she reluctantly accepted. Then they helped us take all our shopping to the car. When we got home, my mum tells me that she doesn't want me getting into fights ever again, and then she lets me have way too many donuts. Yeah, you can tell she's proud of you. Man, what a badass mum you've got. Neighbour's mother wants my husband's parking spot permanently, posted by Nagi Namo 101. Our car was stolen in June and then returned to us at the end of July. It was pretty messed up and is in the shop being worked on at the moment. My husband told our neighbour's mother, who visits often, that she can no longer park in our parking spot. All was well and good, until today, when I was coming home from some errands. The lady was on our stoop, asking for my husband, and if he could extend her parking allowance in our spot. She explained how she's moving into the townhouse next to us to help care for her grandkids. She said that us losing our car was great, so that she could park closer to the townhouse and not have to park on the street. I'm so glad you had your car stolen. It was just great for me. Made my life so much more convenient. Now, if you could just go get arrested and go to jail or something so I can move into your home, I'd really appreciate it. I told her the car's being returned in October and you have until then to make arrangements. This woman, who I'm assuming has no sense of reality, said that the chances of our car ever working again is nil and that we should just give her our parking spot. Oh, I love this woman. Our townhouses have assigned parking and guest parking spots are adjacent. I told her she has to wait until my husband comes home and talk to him. She literally said that she won't talk to him and will just take the spot whenever she wants, regardless of if we get our car working or not. Well, enjoy having your car towed. I know it seems petty, but I'm considering calling a tow truck the next time she does this. Yes, embrace the petty side. Update. Our neighbour, who is the son of this woman, has gotten involved and sided with us on the matter. He had also told his mother to park in the guest parking spots from now on, or to not come here at all. She also lied about moving in. Big surprise. Her son has given me his blessing to call a tow truck if she does it again. Sounds like the son doesn't want her coming over all the time either. I wonder why? Entitlement berated me for using sign language in public. Post by Business Secret 8725. I, 22 female, am hard of hearing and use both speech and sign language. I was at a cafe with my best friend, who's deaf, and we were both signing and chatting over coffee. This woman comes up and says, "Excuse me, do you have to do that here?" I asked, "Do what?" "The hand thing. My kid is trying to eat and you're distracting him. It's rude." I blinked. "You mean the sign language?" She nodded and said, "It looks aggressive. He's trying to learn proper manners and you're confusing him." I said, "You could teach him that people communicate in different ways. That's a great life lesson." She huffed and called me a liberal weirdo and walked off muttering. Her poor kid waved at us when they left. We waved back. The barista gave us free cookies for being the least weird people here today. It's funny that she's trying to teach her son manners and her way to do that is to harass deaf people for using sign language. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. Have an amazing rest of your day. Bye!